What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Ramblin Noobs YouTube channel, a brand new channel where we talk about all things media, movies, video games, anything that we want to talk about. I'm Ryan, along with my co-host John. How's it going today, John?
What's up?
How you feeling, man?
Feeling good. Feeling good, man. I'm excited.
I'm excited too because at the end of the day, we're both nerds. At the end of the day, we love going to see movies. We love playing video games. We probably both love technology.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think we're just ready to talk about it. We do it anyway, so we might as well talk about it for everyone out there.
Yeah, definitely.
So I know basically the format of the show, for those of you who haven't watched before, is we both bring random topics of discussion. We break it down to topic by topic, and we just kind of talk about it like we were sitting around a table. Very casual, and we invite you guys in the future to join our Google Hangout and chat and comment, and we'll even answer some questions along the way if we see some interesting comments. So you ready to get started, John?
Yes, let's do this.
Perfect. So I understand you have the first topic. What would that be?
Okay. All right. Sweet. So I'm probably not going to go too far with this, but I was kind of thinking it might be fun to take a trip down, memory lane and just kind of think about our favorite movie experiences. And the first one I was going to bring up was actually The Lost World, Jurassic Park. It was one of the first movies I went to see in the theater, and I remember I went with my dad and a friend of ours. And it's one of those movies that, even though obviously it's not as great as the original Jurassic Park, because that came out in 1993, and I was only 3 years old by that time.
Absolute
So
classic,
obviously,
by the way. And
yes, I agree, and we should come back to that. But so The Lost World, it comes out. You have these huge expectations. That's back in the 90s where movie trailers are not as watched. They're not published on the internet as much because obviously, high-speed internet wasn't really that much of a thing yet. So the anticipation of this movie was just incredible. I mean, for me, from just being 7 years old, I think it was 1997 it came out. And so that was just one of those experiences my dad and I went and saw together, and we really liked Jeff Goldblum's humor in the film. I know that it did not tie in hardly at all to the book. If you've read The Lost World, it's almost nothing like the book.
Sure.
It's very different. The original Jurassic Park is actually much closer to the book Jurassic Park, but I didn't mind that too much. But that was my first real memory that it's one of those I wouldn't have appreciated that film as much if I just saw it, on Blockbuster VHS a few months later or something. But anyways, what's like one of your first or favorite movie theater moments or memories?
Well, before I get to that, I kind of want to comment on that because
Okay.
I actually have a funny experience relating to Jurassic Park, Lost World, Jurassic Park. I remember how confused I was at the beginning of that movie. The scene with the little girl, and she goes off and she sees the compies and they start eating her bread, and she screams when she's attacked, and the mother screams. And how confused were you when you saw Jeff Goldblum yawning, like with the tropical scene behind him? I was like, oh, this is kind of odd.
I know.
And then you're like, oh, okay, he's on a train. Completely different scene. It makes sense now. What is he doing just yawning at this little girl dying?
Yeah.
But I actually really like that movie. It's one of those movies I won't pull out of the Blu-ray shelf that often to necessarily watch, like, oh, I want to pick this one.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's on, TV, I'm definitely keeping it on.
Mm-hmm.
Almost just for that scene where she's balanced on the glass and it's slowly cracking.
Yes.
That's one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And every time I start to feel like I'm getting almost like anxious myself just watching it.
It's funny you say that because what I've actually been doing is I've been going back and I've been watching all the Jurassic Park movies because they just put them on Netflix. And I guess I own them at some point. I don't know what happened to it, but all I own is Jurassic World. And obviously I watched that too. But I went back and watched The Lost World on Netflix the other night, and I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot, just it's solid. It's good. It doesn't have the same impact as Jurassic Park. I don't think anything could, because Jurassic Park is what it is. It set the standard. It had so much presentation to it that you just can't redo, from an original standpoint. But the film is actually a lot better than I think people give it credit for. I mean, it's you know, it's not the just kind of embarrassingly cheesy Jurassic Park 3, which had its moments, but it's really just an enjoyable film. Every time I watch it, you know, there's some silliness to it that I'm still kind of like, okay, you know, like when Kelly's swinging on the bars and kicks the Velociraptor,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, this is just a little corny right here, but you know, it's an enjoyable film, so I'm glad that been able to kind of relive that. But yeah,
Not to mention the epic scene in the very interesting film that was Jurassic Park 3, where the sleeping scene where all of a sudden he says Alan and it's the dinosaur saying it.
yeah,
It just kills it for me. I can almost every time skip Jurassic Park 3 and go straight to Jurassic Park World and the running in the high heels and all that.
Yeah.
But that was a really good pick. It's a movie I enjoy personally.
Yeah.
Personally, I have so many experiences that I really, really remember going into the theater, from seeing like Titanic the first time in theaters. I remember that being just like blown away that they actually built these sets and everything. But I'm going to go this time with seeing The Dark Knight in trilogy. The Dark Knight in IMAX. It was the first movie I'd ever seen in IMAX. Our theater here had just gotten renovated for the first time. And actually sitting in the theater, the owner of the theater actually came out and explained like the specs of the theater that he had built about this IMAX and how, you know, the size of it and the sound he used. It was really cool. It was the first ever showing on the IMAX screen. So I had no idea what to expect. And when that first scene comes up, that's shot entirely in IMAX, which Christopher Nolan uses beautifully in that prologue scene with the Joker robbing the bank at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, that entire movie from start to finish in IMAX, not only is it a great film, but the sound, the music, and everything is when I really actually had never seen Batman Begins until I had seen The Dark Knight, which I don't think that's uncommon. I think the Batman Begins kind of flew under the radar, and then The Dark Knight came out, got a lot of press, and I went back and watched Batman Begins, which I absolutely loved. It's actually my favorite out of the trilogy is Batman Begins. The story is my personal favorite. But do you remember where you saw The Dark Knight? And I mean, did you have any similar kind of reaction to it in the theater for the first time?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Because I get it mixed up with my experience in seeing The Dark Knight Rises, because I think it was understood. Huh?
Yes, brother.
Yes. Yes. If I'm not mistaken, I was doing summer camps as an intern when The Dark Knight came out. I think it was 2008 when it came out. And so we all went as a staff. And I remember like we were just blown away at that opening sequence and the Joker. And most of us have seen Batman Begins before. But you know, a movie like that, I mean, it's revered by audiences today. I mean, it's still one of the most iconic films, you know, in the last, you know, 40, 50 years. I mean, I think it's fair to say that because he did such a great job as the villain. I mean, alone, you know, Heath Ledger's performance as a Joker is enough merit on its own. But yeah, I would agree with that. Like I said, I tend to get a little, you know, mixed up with my memories of The Dark Knight Rises because I also went to go see that with staff as well, and
right.
But that was a couple years later.
The thing about that is that so many people have kind of not a negative view, but a disappointed view in The Dark Knight Rises, and I don't think it's that the movie is as disappointing as everyone thinks. I think that The Dark Knight set it so high that it was impossible, especially with the death. You know, not getting the Joker in the movie because of, you know, him dying before the movie could film. I would love to see that movie. I would love to go back in time and see a movie with the Joker in the third one, which was the original plan. But I really like The Dark Knight Rises for what it is. It's not a Batman film. It's more of a Bruce Wayne film, which I kind of appreciate. It kind of feels to me a lot like Iron Man 3, which a lot of people don't like as much as the other Iron Mans, but I actually really like the Tony Stark story. Maybe they could have even called it Tony Stark instead of an Iron Man film because you really didn't see that much Iron Man in it. But
yeah, not to the end anyways.
Dark Knight trilogy, definitely one of the best trilogies. But
yeah.
I have a topic kind of playing off of that as my first topic, which is relating to superheroes.
Ah.
And that is the idea that we are going to, or are already experiencing, superhero movie fatigue. So I want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think? Are you getting fatigued, and do you think we're oversaturated and will get oversaturated soon?
Well, see, that's a good question, because if you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's a story that it's both continuously branching out, but it's also coming full circle at the same time. Because if you've read, they have plans for films all the way past like 2025 or something like that.
Right.
You can expect there will be different variations of the Avengers in the future, all this. So they don't have any plans to really stop anytime soon. With that being said, I want to see, the Avengers really take on Thanos. I want to see that happen. So to me, there's this huge sense of anticipation, like, let's get some closure to that story. And I'll kind of care about the rest later, So I think I understand some audiences that are a little fatigued in the sense that they feel like they have to watch all these films to keep up with the story. But I don't think that's even necessarily true. There's some films you can probably skip without really missing some key plots. But I think as long as they keep raising the standard, Marvel's been pretty consistent. The problem is, and I'll get on this more whenever I talk about from my perspective, but DC has to play kind of catch up at this point, and I think a lot of audiences are probably concerned that, oh my gosh, are we just going to see more of the Marvel universe just in the DC format? So overall, I think it's pretty healthy. I don't think people are too fatigued by it, but it might change. It might change. I think we're in a good spot right now. I think we're kind of in our prime. Especially with Civil War was a huge, strong point for the MCU. It got people excited about Spider-Man, Black Panther. It reinforced what makes Captain America great. So that was exactly kind of like the, one of the huge points that Marvel needed to reach for it to keep its longevity. I think if they couldn't have pulled off Civil War in the way that they did, people would start to lose interest by now. But Civil War was a huge win for them. So.
No, and I agree with a lot of your points. And to that point, I agree with what you said about Civil War kind of reinvigorating the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because I'll be honest with you, Avengers 2, a little bit of a letdown.
Yes, definitely.
Forgettable villain in the end. Ultron was a forgettable villain. When I saw those trailers, I remember thinking, this is a serious villain. It's gonna be a very dark tone movie. It's gonna be very emotional, and really, Ultron was just a joking robot with a sarcastic attitude.
Right. Nothing but quips.
Right. Nothing but quips. Nothing was explained. It was just like, oh yeah, he's in existence now. And look, Thor's in a pool. I wonder why they didn't, what is he doing in some magical hot tub that gives him visions? Good job. I know that's probably the studio's fault. Josh Whedon himself said that, he was kind of forced to make cuts where he didn't want to make cuts to the in the editing room. But still, I feel like those were absolute plot holes. We could have gotten more, kind of more of a story on the backstory of what Thor was doing with everyone else than another half an hour ranch scene where everyone's just sitting around looking mopey.
Mm-hmm.
The Hulkbuster kind of kept me in that movie. But as far as fatigue goes, I hear it all the time. I hear a lot of people say, it's just too much. We're going to hit that breaking point where people are going to lose interest. And I hear the comparison of Westerns a lot, how Westerns went out when they were so popular, and then I don't know, they just kind of fell off. But my argument to that is that Westerns fell off not because of the genre itself. They fell off because of the quality of the Western. People were just pumping out movies without any good story, without even caring if the product was good, just to put out a Western. I don't have that worry with Disney running things with the MCU. I think they kind of have a formula that works it might be slightly derivative and kind of repetitive. We're using the same formula in a lot of the movies, which they do kind of like funny part, serious, action, funny part.
Right.
But it works, and I don't think that formula is not going to break down anytime soon. I don't think we're going to get a Spider-Man 3 in the MCU. I really don't. I mean,
definitely.
Arguably, we can say the worst movie in the MCU was probably, I would say, either Thor 2 or Iron Man 2. One of those two, not so much bad, but just forgettable in the overall.
I would agree with you.
Scope.
Especially, I had real issues with Iron Man 2. I watch the movie to this day, and I'm frustrated. I'm like, this is a boring Iron Man. Like, this should be cool, but there's so many good things about that movie that you want to like it, but
you mean you don't like he wants his bird. You don't want him to want his bird. Give me my bird.
Yes, that was and that's probably that actually issue with Whiplash, their depiction of him. I think that is part of a bigger problem, like you said, with some of the movies that Marvel has done, because they seem to get a lot of the things right, and what they get right, they really exceed in. But they definitely fall short in the villain department. And it seems like by now, with as many people saying that in every film, like the movie was good, but you guys got the villain kind of, uninteresting. By now we're at 12 or 13 Marvel cinematic movies.
Yeah, and only 2 villains that are good.
Right, exactly. One of which is basically kind of turning into more of a hero. Are we talking about Winter Soldier?
Yeah, well, the Winter Soldier I thought was a good villain, and then Tom Hiddleston as Loki, obviously.
Right. Yeah, Loki is obviously he's probably number one. I mean, he's just
not really even a villain though. He's more of like kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy, how they were criminals, but they were still good guys. That's really what Tom Hiddleston's character has become. He's not really bad. He's almost a sympathetic character that is kind of plays both sides of the fence there.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they classify him as a villain though. He's definitely not a really good guy by his. You're right. He's kind of an anti-hero, but
hopefully our friend Jeff Goldblum and all the other casting announced for Ragnarok can really. I have faith that movie can really do some really good things for the Thor franchise, because I think it's sorely needed. But onto the larger topic about fatigue, I look at it more now instead of like an individual standalone movie, which people are saying as a standalone movie, none of the Marvel movies, or very very small amount of them, would actually work as a standalone film, as a great standalone film. But I look at it more honestly as like a television show that you're watching episodes in a season. They're just very far apart in longer episodes of a TV show.
Right.
I mean, that's what the comics are. They're not a standalone amazing story. It's just kind of like a great, good, building up. Here's a great one. Good.
Right.
That's exactly, I think Marvel is doing exactly what they intend to do with this, rather than screwing anything up. The same can't be said for some other owned studios, films. Fantastic Four. No one's looking at you.
Yes.
Hopefully we get it rebought at some point by someone. Spider-Man, I'm glad that Sony's working together with Disney on that one. It's about time. But yeah, I don't think, just to wrap it up, I don't think the films are getting derivative or in any way are I'm not feeling any fatigue myself. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that there have been enough films in the MCU that can stand on themselves, that people would be able to say, I really enjoyed that film. I'm not crazy about the universe and following other films, but like for example, my wife is really not into these MCU films hardly at all, but she really did like Guardians of the Galaxy. She thought it was hilarious. She really liked Civil War. She thought that was solid. So even for some people that may not be interested in the MCU as a whole, some of these films, the consistency of them, I think, is keeping a lot of audiences in. And then, for some people, all they need to do is watch one film that kind of gets them hooked, and then they kind of want to go back and see all these other films and see how they connect. So, I don't think audiences are anywhere near done with it. Like you said, I think we're in a good season.
Very good. I mean, I think that pretty much wraps that one up. I know you have another topic, kind of in the same universe, we're not talking MCU, but you got something else for me?
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the DC universe because I've been reading up more about what's been going on there for a while, and I can't say I follow it as diligently as I do the MCU, but that's just because I'm a bigger fan of the MCU than I am DC. But I think I'm not sure that DC can pull it off. I have a lot of doubts for them, honestly, and I think it's because they're not bringing in enough talent. I think that Wonder Woman could be really good. I'm glad they've got a female director doing that because she sounds awesome. I can't remember what she's done before because she's a lesser known director to me, but I'm glad they're letting her handle that because I feel like there's too many male directors doing female movies, female character-led movies. But they, Batman versus Superman was such an ambitious movie. And I actually kind of feel for Zack Snyder because I think that he really tried to stick true to the visual look of the comics. Batman vs. Superman is a really entertaining movie, regardless of whether or not you actually think it's really good or not. I actually really enjoyed it, especially the second time. But I'm not sure that the DC universe can catch up with MCU because on that same topic, by the time they bring themselves together for their big, comparison, as the Justice League, I'm not sure audiences are going to care enough about it because the response from Batman versus Superman, these are two iconic characters, Batman and Superman. The fight that came down to it was really pretty anticlimactic.
Martha, what do you say?
I know. That's why you need to see the How It Should Have Ended spoof of that because they poke fun at that so much that it was
By
basically
the way, free plug, How It Should Have Ended. Check it out. Great channel.
Yes, one of the funniest channels. They basically show you like how these movies should have ended in the most funny, cartoony way. I mean, and it's all just really funny original humor. But so anyway, so this film, it's got these two Titan characters, and it honestly, one thing you get the sense of Superman, he's kind of brooding and kind of dark, and he's questioning that he needs to be a superhero, and I understand that they're trying to give some depth to his character, and that's fine, but I don't know that they made the characters likable enough for audiences to want to see them again and again and again. So I'm just saying, based on what I've seen, I don't know that they have enough talent to be working on this franchise as a whole. I like that with the MCU, they've been giving a lot of new directors opportunities, and they've been trying a lot of new actors. And so I'm happy that Ben Affleck is involved with the next Batman. I think Justice League will be pretty good. I think Suicide Squad looks good.
Oh yeah.
I'm very excited about that. But I'm just saying they have a lot of work ahead of them. I don't want to put too much doubt out for them, but I just I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know if your confidence is the same way towards DC or if you're more confident or what you're thinking about that.
Full disclosure, I know way more, like knowledge-wise, about the MCU than I do about DC, just because of my, the way what I read and what I saw when I was growing up. However, that being said, I'm equally a fan of the universes because it brings a diverse tone. When you're getting if you have a lot of lighthearted Marvel movies, then you can pop in a DC movie and kind of get the juxtaposition on it where it kind of brings something fresh to the table.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about Batman v Superman, I fully believe people would have liked it a lot more had Zack Snyder been allowed to put out his full version. Like, we're going to get the extended cut any day now. I'm super excited for that because I feel like it's going to fill in a lot of holes for someone who's not doesn't know all the storylines at DC. I was very confused. I later read spoilers after I saw it that explained certain scenes and what it was, dream sequences, and the Flash appearance multiple times. But as I was watching it the first time, I didn't necessarily know. I was kind of confused, like, okay, what the heck was that? Like, I don't understand why this is happening now. It seems kind of out of place. And, you know, at the end of the day, I really liked the movie. I agree with you that the fight was really, I mean, it's Batman v Superman. And the ultimate fight that we've all been waiting to see took all of what, like 4 minutes or 5 minutes? And then it ended just cold turkey with him saying, you know, Martha. I mean, it was kind of, I was like, that's kind of odd that this horrible, mean Batman, I mean, Superman and everything, they would just kind of stop fighting because of one name. And, you know, I understand the emotional ties to it, but it just seemed a little like convenient to end the fight with, to say the least. That being said, Ben Affleck, I thought I was not going to like him at all as Batman after coming off Christian Bale, who I really liked as Batman. Mm-hmm. I did like Ben Affleck as Batman. I'm a big Cavill fan for Superman. I think he's a good Superman.
Yeah, I agree.
Was not feeling Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor's son at all.
No, not really.
I felt like I was watching Now You See Me, and he was doing magic tricks the whole time and being Jesse Eisenberg, and Jesse Eisenberg playing Jesse Eisenberg is what it felt like, which in Now You See Me, you know, in 1 and 2 works, but in Batman v Superman,
yeah, I still haven't seen this movie. I need to check them out.
Yeah, I just actually, that's another topic for another day. Recently saw Now You See Me too.
And I like Jesse Eisenberg. I think he's actually a very talented actor. But
I do, yeah.
Lex Luthor came across as psychotic, mentally unstable, but not like intelligent. You know what I mean? Right. Like he just came across as like he came across as more like almost like the Riddler. You know, more than.
Yes, I agree. He would have been a good Riddler. Let's bring Jesse Eisenberg on as the Riddler, please.
Right. Yeah, it was odd. It was kind of like it made it it was way too over the top, you know, for a movie of that tone.
Well, not only that, but do you remember? I mean, I don't know about you, but how excited I was when I heard the rumor that they were going to get what's his name from Breaking Bad to play Lex Luthor, the guy that plays Heisenberg. They were going to get him to play
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston would have been, in my view, an insane, perfect like Lex Luthor of any kind. He would have fit the role to a T.
I can't figure out why he isn't in a comic book movie yet. That's one thing I can't figure out. I mean,
I've heard rumors it's coming, and I know they've announced a few castings recently, and I hope very, very soon that he is. Oh, no. What I heard was he's playing Zordon in the new Power Rangers movie. Interesting casting.
Yeah, I'm not too excited about that.
I don't know. One of those that I'll see it. I will see it at some point. I'll rent it or I'll watch it on probably on demand. But
that's not the role I want him in, though. You know, I want him. It's like that's why I had huge expectations for Godzilla.
Me too.
And spoiler alert. I mean, he's in the movie for like 30 minutes. I mean,
that's the best part of the movie is the first like 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. He's good in the movie. He's not like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't know what it is, but he came across
my least favorite actor in Hollywood right now.
I don't know what it is about him. Elizabeth Olsen is awesome.
Oh yeah, Scarlet Witch. But yeah, Aaron, you're absolutely right about his character. Being the main character in Godzilla was such a horrible decision, and every movie that he's been in, I couldn't stand. Wasn't he in Terminator Salvation? And he was in, I believe he was also.
No, he was in.
Oh, Die Hard. The last Die Hard movie. Was that him?
No, that was Jay Courtney.
Can't stand that guy either.
I actually like Jay Courtney. No, Aaron Taylor Johnson was in The Avengers, obviously, and he was also in the Kick-Ass movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He played the main character in that movie, and so Godzilla. Did you ever see Shanghai Nights? I know this is random. Jackie Chan.
Is that Jackie Chan and
Owen Wilson?
Owen Wilson, way back in the late 90s.
It came out in 2000 something. It was after the first one. The first one was Shanghai Noon. But actually, if you look in Shanghai Nights, there's a boy that plays this character who's always stealing stuff throughout the movie. Yeah. That's Aaron Taylor Johnson as a kid. He's got the really Cockney British accent. I was on Netflix. I watched it again. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Aaron Taylor Johnson? What? Yeah, but
I haven't thought about that movie or even heard that movie's name for probably a decade until you just brought it up. Shanghai Nights. Shout out to a movie that I have,
Yeah,
and I think about a lot of movies, and I haven't heard
Jack,
that movie in a long time.
I love Jackie Chan. So even those movies are sometimes cheesy, but I've always been a huge fan of his. So
give me a Rush Hour movie anytime.
Yeah, I think that they got weaker as they went, though. Honestly, I think it was really hard to beat the original. I mean, 2 was okay, 3 was all right. I don't know. Yeah. And then there's rumors of a 4th one, which I find crazy. But
well, at some point, Chris Tucker just gets on my nerves. Lee, yeah, it's just like, oh, okay.
I feel like he plays the same character in every movie too. Like he's just like that in The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Oh, except he's not as effeminate as he was in The Fifth Element.
What's his name? The the like famous guy in that movie.
Yes. Which that is a good movie, but
it really is. So
that's he played his role fine, but it was still odd. It was like he's very kind of much like his character on Rush Hour.
Yes.
Not quite as effeminate.
Sticking with the kind of superhero genre, we're talking a lot about that today. And for all of you watching, every show is going to be different. Next week we could be not even talking about movies. We could be talking about video game topics. We can talk about anything. So this is not a specific theme show. But I'd like to bring up a movie I recently saw that got a lot of heat and a lot of interesting, I thought, disappointing reviews on.
I know what you're going for.
X-Men Apocalypse. I went into that movie with all-time low expectations. I'm talking, oh man, this is going to be bad. I know it's going to be bad. I read too many reviews. It got in my head. The whole purple apocalypse pictures months before that, all that building up in my head for months and months and months. I was just like, why did they ruin this franchise? Because Days of Future Past was so good. I walked out of that theater saying, what the heck were people talking about? Like, the movie to me was on par, I thought, with Days of Future Past. I thought it was better than First Class for sure. Especially, I mean, that Quicksilver scene had me laughing like a little girl in the middle of the theater. Brought a smile to my face. I understand people's complaints, kind of like the whole movie was like build up. It was essentially a big recruiting movie where everyone was just recruiting people. But you talk about Magneto's performance, him losing his family, his motivations behind it. Charles Xavier, another great performance for him throughout the whole movie. I really like that. The story really has always been about them two and Mystique. And I like that they haven't really broken away from that too much, because I really appreciate all three of those actors and characters. But I really feel like the problems people had with this movie, you can't go into it expecting, Shawshank Redemption type drama and emotions. Like, to me, X-Men has always been that movie I can go in with the gigantic, 1,500 calorie bucket of popcorn and the largest soda drink they can give me, and I can just sit there and smile and enjoy the feast of spectacle that's happening on screen with me. Completely understand Olivia Munn's character is forgettable. She wasn't even essentially doing anything. She was just like running around with the purple sword and slicing things. But
yes,
I really
who did she play again?
and the ending of that movie, coming out with the Phoenix, introducing or supposedly introducing the Phoenix Saga. That entire ending with Charles doing battles with Apocalypse in his mind, right out of the Phoenix Saga from the comics and the X-Men show, the animated show from when we were kids. It's a great show, by the way, the X-Men animated series.
I never saw it.
Mid-90s classic, best theme song ever.
I've heard that. Yeah, I never watched, but I heard it was really popular.
But her when she came out, went boom, and the Phoenix was coming out. I was like, finally, this is so much better than X-Men 3, where they completely ruined the Phoenix one.
Yeah, X-Men 3 was so frustrating. Oh my gosh, it was just well, yeah. The only thing is, I felt like I don't feel like Apocalypse matches Days of Future Past in the sense that I don't feel it was as memorable. The villain was solid. Oscar Isaac is a fantastic actor. They never really portray him as that physically imposing. I feel like they should have made him look a little bit more intimidating he was really kind of mysterious and sounded very, you know, godlike and all that, but he didn't ever really come across as that imposing to me. Because like when they start showing the destruction, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of it, and some reviewers were saying this too, that some of it's kind of, you know, far off in the distance. You know, we've seen this destruction kind of stuff before, and I never really bought into how quickly Magneto joined up with him, because even though he was grieving and he was angry, I felt like he had become more of like his own man. You know, as soon as he joined up with Apocalypse, I kind of felt like his character really took a backstory, and I didn't like that, because I think Michael Fassbender has been one of the most consistently good actors in Hollywood, and I think his portrayal of Magneto is amazing. And just like you said, you know, the interchange between James McAvoy's Professor Xavier and Magneto, I mean, they're fantastic actors, and they work so well together. And that was one of my favorite things of the newer X-Men films so far, has been their entire relationship. So it seemed like it got really downplayed in this film, where they didn't really interact as much, and I didn't like that, because I didn't feel like Apocalypse was that menacing of a character and that interesting of a character. And I did like the finale. I thought the finale was good, but
that Magneto turn did feel a little Hayden Christensen episode 3. You know, I'm bad now, Emperor. Let's go kill.
Right.
Let's go murder children after I was just about to turn you in, just because Mace Windu's dead.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I thought it was hilarious though when he first met Apocalypse, like when he's like, "What the bleep are you?" Just like because every new of the new X-Men movies, they've all had a scene like that where somebody, like, you know, just, you know, tosses off at somebody. It's really funny. But I would agree with you that the reviews were overly harsh. I think it was solid. I'm not sure. I think it was just as good as First Class, if not a little bit better. But I still think Days of Future Past is pretty hard to beat in the entire X-Men universe, honestly.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right there. I think, like you said, it didn't deserve below a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. That was my main beef with it. I mean, if I know Rotten Tomatoes isn't a rating out of 10, it's just how many, what percentage of the critics liked or didn't dislike the movie. But honestly, I would go, if you had asked me, what do you think the Rotten Tomato meter would have been coming out of that movie if I had never read the reviews for it, I probably would have guessed at least an 80%. At least
for
Apocalypse, because looking at like Age of Ultron, which got an 80. I mean, I put really? Apocalypse. I thought Apocalypse was a better movie than Age of Ultron.
I don't know. Better than Ultron? That's a good comparison. I never thought about that. I just don't think either of them would be worth an 80. I don't think either of them were that good. I would give them like a C+ maybe, or a B-.
Yeah, and I guess what it taught me, I guess, at the end of the day, was that I shouldn't go into a movie automatically, expecting to dislike it or to have a pre-bias on it just because I read the reviews. I really actually want to stop reading multiple reviews and maybe only read like the ones I really, really follow or really, really trust, and maybe even cut down on the. Everyone watches the trailers, but I watch teaser trailer 1, teaser trailer 2, main trailer 1.
Yeah.
I kind of, by the time I watch the movie, I've seen a lot of the cool scenes, which kind of waters down what would have been a surprise. I'm glad that they didn't show barely anything from that Quicksilver scene. And it was an absolute delight to see that in theater, especially leaning back in my comfortable recliner at my newly renovated theater. But yeah, I really, in the end, liked the movie. But that's pretty much my topic. I just wanted to see what you thought about it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think ultimately what I felt with Apocalypse is that it kind of follows some of the same problems that I've seen with some of these comic book films. Is that I think they don't know how to focus enough on good character development, especially with villains.
Right.
They have these insanely huge budgets, you know, and they pull off these amazing visual shots. But you know, I really, at the end of the day, I've seen cities get destroyed about 1,000,000 times now with CG, and it's cool. It looks cool. Like I'm excited to see what that looks like in Independence Day because it's going to have a twist in there. And that director's always been great at destruction. But you know,
Even the movies haven't been good. Roland Emmerich,
yeah, yeah, exactly. But you know, I care. To me, I care a lot more about a memorable character and a memorable story. To me, that's what made The Force Awakens so good. Was that yes, it had amazing sets, set pieces. It had amazing CG. The space battles were cool, all that stuff. But to me, the characters and the story are what made it cool, or what made it memorable. You know, the first.
And surprisingly enough, the new characters, not to me, the new characters stood out more than Han and Leia. I mean, I don't know what you think about it, but I really think Rey's character, I think she's one of my favorite actors now. I mean, she absolutely nailed playing Rey in that movie.
Yes, Daisy Ridley is an amazing actress. I can't believe that like she hasn't been in anything big before this, but I'm very excited to see her in the future films. But yeah, I mean, it was just, they just did such a great job with characters, the dialogue, the story, and I want to see more of that in films like the X-Men. Like I remember Days of Future Past, it had this one scene to me where I literally kind of hurt inside for Professor Xavier. Whenever he's talking to Wolverine and he's being told about the future.
I don't want your future.
He's like, I don't want your future. And he's all like, weeping and angry and bitter. Like he wants to run away from all this and the pain. And I just thought, I was like, man, James McAvoy like nails this character so well. Like you really empathize with him, because can you imagine if someone really came back in time to tell you something horrible that's going to happen like that, and you were able to find some significant proof for it? I mean, I just thought that film had so many good moments of character development and empathy with like some of the main characters that Apocalypse kind of lacked. So that's my final thoughts on it. But
all right, well, anyways, we'll leave it at that. And what's your final topic?
Okay, final topic is, and we don't have to go too far with this, but the genre that is not doing that great right now in Hollywood is video games turned into movies, or movies based on video games, whatever you want to call it. I don't feel like there's really been a consistent effort, a very strong effort made in this genre, and it's kind of disappointing, because I think that if they really tapped into the right game, I think that they could, do a great job with it. I think so far the only thing that's been really successful has been Resident Evil, and I don't take this film seriously anymore. Like, they're entertaining.
Hey, the first one was legit, okay?
Yes, they are. The first one was legit, but it just doesn't measure up anymore. It's like that was like 10 years ago, and I have huge expectations for Assassin's Creed, mostly because it looks like they get the visual shots really well. They get Michael Fassbender is the main character, which is amazing. I think I'm trying to think who else is in that film. I think isn't Marion Cotillard, what's her name, from Inception, and she might be in that film too. Yes, I'm not sure. You're right. There's the very, very good female actress in that film who's playing alongside him that I'm excited to see. But anyways, I'm just saying, I feel like there's so many franchises that they could tap into make into fantastic films. One of the biggest ones I want to see is like a Halo film. I don't know why they haven't done a Halo film yet, because they've even done like short films with that, and they've done the cut sequences nowadays, like Halo 5 and the remastering of Halo 2. The cut sequences look so good. The acting, the voice acting, it's all so good and intriguing. And I think to myself, this should be a movie. Like, why is this not a full-length movie? This is something that would draw me in as an audience easily. And I think it would draw in a lot of fans of video games that may not really be into movies that much. But I didn't know if you had any thoughts about, maybe why we haven't seen that, or any movies or any games you want to see made into movies, or. anything
No,
like that.
I actually had high hopes for Warcraft, and then it tanked. And I heard nothing. Like I will go see it at some point. I just haven't got a chance to yet, but was really hoping that would actually turn the tide. I absolutely agree with you. I hope Assassin's Creed is everything we want and then some. I think the actors are there. I think, obviously they have an infinite amount of storyline that they can pull from. They don't even have to use the game storyline. Basically, all you need is, going
Right.
using your ancestors' memories and going back in time and doing all this stuff. I mean, you have a blank slate there with a great setup and a great story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say my pick is any of the ones that I know have been talked about or might already be in development, because I feel like, if they're already getting made, that's not something that I would want to get made because it's already happening. I would say The Last of Us, which is a Naughty Dog game. My favorite developers did Uncharted, which, they're already talking about making an Uncharted movie. I think that would be fun, but I think we've seen that character type before a lot of movies, almost like an Indiana Jones. And
yeah, but I wouldn't mind that. I mean, like I wouldn't mind like a different, maybe a fresh take on Indiana Jones, because to be honest with you, like they just announced Indiana Jones 5 and probably beyond that, and I'm not really that excited for it. Like,
no George Lucas involved though.
What's that?
George Lucas is not involved in this one, which is a godsend. It's just Steven Spielberg. So I'm hoping that means that quality will be paramount, which I trust Spielberg almost more than any other director there is. And I feel like George Lucas had his hands all over Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, he did, and I don't really know what he was going for with that film, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, I tried to like it, and there's some things I still like about it, but it was just like it's cringe worthy, like at some parts. But
I would say The Last of Us, though, being pretty much it's a video game version, a more serious tone version, almost like a Walking Dead meets the theaters, which I think would be really. I would actually like to see on a separate note, a Walking Dead movie. I think would be pretty cool. But Last of Us would kind of even a Left 4 Dead. Yeah, even a Left 4 Dead movie would be cool. I think we haven't had a good zombie movie. I mean, they were pumping them out for a while there. I remember the last one I really liked that I saw a zombie movie was 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. I thought those movies were excellent, and I feel like Left 4 Dead is hasn't come out in a long time. Old Xbox game, and I really like that game, and I feel like it's very similar, with the zombies and everything, the hordes as the monsters in Last of Us, but. I'm just ready to see a serious take, another one on a zombie apocalypse movie, but not just a standalone film. I really want to set up a universe that actually matters, that actually has, like, they're trying to figure it out and find a cure. That's why I feel like Walking Dead as a TV show is kind of, I know it's based on the graphic novel, but I want to see actually like a storyline in which they're actually getting close to maybe figure out why it happened and even almost like
I'm always a season behind on that show. What's that?
What was that Will Smith movie?
I Am Legend?
Yeah, I mean, the ending kind of disappointed me, but that's what I was almost looking for in a Walking Dead series or a movie adaptation of a zombie movie, is kind of like, he finds out that there might be a cure or that he's trying to cure it. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think Assassin's Creed is probably our best chance at getting a good movie.
And I think to be fair, Hollywood is giving games or movies based on games a shot, because just this year alone, you saw Warcraft, which had a huge budget. Obviously, it's not doing that great. It's doing really well overseas, which is interesting.
So did Transformers, though.
Right, but the thing is, some audiences overseas are just, they have different standards than we do, or they have different interests than we do. What was it that did? But I think Pacific Rim did a lot better overseas than it did here, or something like that. But
yeah,
like this year, you had Angry Birds, which is kind of a cartoon, which is based on a video game. To be fair, it's a mobile game. It's not very deep, obviously. But I haven't seen it. It looks funny though. I would like to see it, but I think if they can get something as big as Assassin's Creed, right, which has had like 8 games in its series now. I've lost count. Honestly, I've lost count because it's just too much to keep up with. But if they can get that right and it be a really well-made film, I think that they will have, you'll see more video game adaptations on screen. And I understand, from a filmmaking standpoint, I honestly can't imagine how difficult that is to put that into a story, because you're taking a video game where it's an interactive experience that you make choices in, whether or not it's a linear story or a non-linear story, or if it's just free roam or something like that. But so much of what makes video games compelling is the freedom that you're given. So when you see a film that follows a specific storyline that's based in that universe, it's really easy to cast judgment on it and be like, well, that's not how it should go. That's not how the film should play out. But I honestly just feel like they haven't really shown a lot of passion and love for these video game series on film yet. And I think that when we find a film that really sets the standard for that genre, that's when we'll start seeing more. So I have a lot of money banking on Assassin's Creed, and I honestly, I'm trying to think of what else is in development for. I haven't really looked at it that much lately.
Not a whole lot.
No, not a whole lot. I really want to see a Mass Effect movie. I don't know. Yeah. Have you ever played Mass Effect?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, yeah, we gotta talk about Mass Effect sometime. But Mass Effect, to me, the universe is so rich and deep. I mean, I think they could make it as big as something like Star Wars or Star Trek. I mean, it's such a deep, rich universe.
Yeah.
So many cool things explored. Like the whole concept of the Reapers could be really cool. That's why I'm really excited about Andromeda, because it's taking place in a completely different galaxy, and so you have so many more possibilities. But yeah, so yeah, I just wanted your input on that. I can't even really think of any video game based movies that I have really loved, other than maybe the Resident Evils and
Super Mario Brothers, 1991.
Oh no! I kind of liked Prince of Persia a few years ago with Jake Gyllenhaal. I thought that was okay.
Prince of Persia, Persian, Middle Eastern, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. That's whitewashing of the Hollywood industry for you. But that's another topic for for a whole other show.
He did get pretty jacked for the film, though.
Yeah, yeah, he did. That's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen, because I never saw him as being this muscular
and I
guy.
think he got even more jacked for that Southpaw movie he did not too long ago, which I haven't seen yet, but I heard it's good.
Well, that was a good topic. Probably one of the most interesting ones. One I'm going to go to now is my final topic. I'm going to try to stay away from the obvious answers, but I'm going to go with movie theater pet peeves.
That's a fun topic.
As you and I both go see a lot of movies and have seen a lot of movies, I can tell you that there's some things that are very obvious. As of course, people using cell phones and things like that. There's ones that I'm sure everyone in the world hates, but I'm gonna unpack this a little bit. I'm gonna unfold the layers and peel back a concern that's been irritating me more and more. And there's nothing that I can do about it. It's not. I can't get anyone kicked out. I can't change the prices of the concessions. It is when I'm in a movie and there's not necessarily a quiet scene, but a regular old scene. There's not explosions happening, and the theater to the left or the theater to the right of me has a very loud, action-packed movie, and I can hear that sound overpowering the dialogue that's happening in the movie that I'm actually watching, almost like the rumbling and the bass from the theater next door. Mm-hmm. It completely takes me out. You ever been in a movie and your field of vision is completely almost like you don't even realize you're in the theater anymore, and then someone walks past you, and it kind of you look around for a second, you're like, oh heck, I'm actually in a room with people right now.
Right. Yeah, it takes you out of the reality.
Like that, the sound things like that from other theaters, and then including that kind of thing in that sound realm is when a blown speaker is in the theater that I am in. I tell you, AMC, I did not pay $15 to come to your beautiful theater and hear a broken speaker when explosions happen, crackling like I'm in the back of a busted up 1990 Buick or something with too much bass blaring. Either turn down the bass because you know your theater can't handle it and keep the speakers good, or replace them and don't let it go 6 months before you actually do something about it. Because if I'm paying money, I want a movie theater experience. I don't want to be taken out by anything. And both those things take me completely out of the immersive experience that's supposed to be going to a movie. What do you think? What are some of yours?
Well, I can relate to the first one probably more than the second you mentioned. I usually find it pretty funny when I can hear a film next door in the next auditorium that's overpowering. I think it's pretty funny, honestly. It does take me out of the immersion. You're right. Obviously, I haven't been in an IMAX movie in so long, so I've forgotten like the kind of anticipation you have with that level of movie and presentation. But I think honestly, my biggest annoyances are with just the people themselves, the audience members, because I don't understand how people can leave their cell phones on and then they get a phone call. And even more so, I've actually seen this. I feel like I'm seeing it more commonly than I used to. People actually picking up their cell phone in the movie theater. I remember I was seeing Star Wars Force Awakens for, the fourth time. I was watching it by myself because it was just, the wife was busy and I had nothing to do. So I went to go see it, and there's like, 20 people in the auditorium with me. It's a small auditorium. And this guy is sitting on the same aisle with me on the edge, and he picks up his phone during the movie. It's on vibrate, but he still picks it up, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" And I'm just like baffled. Like I'm staring at him, like trying to glare at him, and like
they never take the hint. They never take the hint.
No, and I would say that would probably be my biggest pet peeve. Probably another thing is whenever people bring like babies into movies.
Yes.
I understand. Look, I'm not a parent yet. I know it's hard to go to the movies when you can't find a sitter or can't afford a sitter or whatever. But oh my goodness, if your baby is going to cry throughout this film, we have a problem, because that just I feel like it's a personal kind of it's disrespectful to me as to another fellow human being, just in general, just the bottom line. Doing anything that kind of messes up your experience at the movie theater, because obviously we all paid money to see this movie, and obviously nobody wants to really be interrupted in that experience, because that's why we go to the movies, so we can be taken out of reality for a little bit. And so anytime someone does something like that disruptive to me, I look at it as more of a, obviously you do not have the same level of respect for me that I have for you, because I would not, conduct myself in this way. And that speaks to probably a bigger problem that we can address in our culture. But there's, by the way, on a side note for you viewers, and Ryan, if you get a chance, Mr. Sunday Movies, he's one of my favorite YouTubers. He does a countdown of his just most annoying things, like pet peeves that happens in the movie theaters. And I don't agree with all of them. Like, for example, he doesn't like it when people clap at the end of the movie. I'm like, why would you give a crap if they clap? Like, it's not annoying. Like, that shouldn't be an annoying thing.
It's at the end. You don't care.
Exactly. Or even
like some...
Huh?
Go ahead. Yeah, most of the time I'm just thinking about, man, I've been not going to the bathroom because I don't want to miss anything for the last 30 minutes. Once the credits hit, unless there's an after credit scene, I can care less if people are clapping or standing or answering their phones. Right. I'm just wanting to clear out so I can run to the bathroom, because I didn't want to miss in a 3-hour movie long movie. I didn't want to miss a single part of it. But that's kind of a silly one. I agree with you.
Most of everything else he says is solid, though. And one of his top favorite ones is he's like, "Number 2, shut up," and he's like, "I don't care what you do, but shut up, and then shut your mouth, because no one cares. So shut up." Like, he just says this over and over again in variation. It's just like, obviously because he's got this awesome Australian accent, he's way more entertaining to me. But he's just has a really funny, blunt sense of humor, and I related to that video quite a bit. But that's a good topic. That's a very, very fun topic too.
So we're going to move on to, I think this might be a mainstay here on the show. It might vary a little bit, maybe most anticipated other things, but we're going to kind of, this week, since we've been on movies, I think we're going to do most anticipated movie of the week. And I think we're probably in agreement on this one. Independence Day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was very, very worried for weeks because a key indication of whether a movie is going to be absolutely trash or bearable or even really good is how long it takes for the review embargo to lift. For example, Captain America's review embargo lifted a month before the movie even came out, which means for a solid month I had to read about how amazing this movie was going to be and how frustrated I was that literally hundreds of people have seen it and thousands of people have seen it, and I haven't seen it, and I can't see it. I don't even have the option to pay money to see it. But the fact that the review embargo for Independence Day didn't lift, and I think until this past Tuesday, I was thinking Fantastic Four, where it did come out to the day of. I had some really bad fears about it. I was super excited when they announced Independence Day 2, and Will Smith isn't in it. That's fine. I actually would rather, if I had both actors, Will Smith or Jeff Goldblum, I would take Jeff Goldblum in an Independence Day movie. Maybe not in every movie, but in an Independence movie. I think his scientific type of character and his, Jeff Goldblum, there it is, type. Because
it's almost like having Ian Malcolm. Like he's basically Ian Malcolm in Independence Day as well. So it's like you get more of Ian Malcolm, and who doesn't love Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park?
Exactly. And so, seeing the trailers, I love the trailers. I thought they were really cool. And then the reviews came out. I think it's sitting right at like a 50-something, 52, 54% on Rotten Tomatoes as of this recording. But the sites that I trust and that I follow that aren't like the, USA Weekly or the big, basically the big newspapers, I don't really care what they think because they're not interested a lot of times in this kind of genre. They usually are the ones that will give like Captain America Civil War a negative rating just to give it a negative rating because of reasons, even though that doesn't make any sense. But the sites that I follow personally and I like personally have loved it. And maybe even not loved it, but at least said it for what it is. It knows what it is. It knows it's just a dumb, big action movie. And isn't that what June and July is really about in the movies? It's just going to have fun in theaters. I don't know, John. Are you pumped as I am to go see it?
Yes, absolutely. Independence Day was one of my favorite movies growing up. It still is of all time. I think it did so much for the industry that a lot of the movies we see today, I think, owe a lot of their credit to Independence Day. And for years and years, I wanted a sequel. I didn't ever think it would happen. But then, I noticed this trend in Hollywood the last, 10 years or so, where they really have started to take older films and just continue the franchise, and obviously they want to do that with Independence Day. And I thought that's, as long as they keep to a lot of the original formula and bring back some of the original characters, I'll be happy. And that's exactly what they've done. And I haven't even seen it yet, but yeah, like you said, most of the reviewers seem like they, and this may speak to another issue with our culture and with a lot of the reviewers out there that look at these movies, but some movies are not supposed to be taken seriously. Independence Day is not one of them. It's not supposed to be taken seriously because this is a completely alternate reality where aliens invade the world and we take back the world, by force, and we're against overwhelming odds. And it's a fun idea. It's a fun concept. It's one of the most classic stories in science fiction, alien invaders. So, from what I've read already, it sounds like it's everything I want it to be in a movie. I almost wondered that I maybe left wanting more, because I think there's another one planned after this if this one does well. And yeah, so I would love to see more of it because I think it's a fascinating concept, and I think it's really one thing I think is really cool is how they have essentially adopted a lot of the alien technology since that timeline. And actually, if you go to the website, I took the time to go to the website and read the timeline of the events that's happened in between the 20 years. And so actually some really interesting backstory to the events that have happened. And you can tell that the world has changed a lot in just 20 years in that story. But I'm very excited to see. I don't even know when I'm going to see it, but I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be great. Like you said, Will Smith not being in it isn't a deal breaker for me. He was awesome in it, but he didn't carry that movie by himself, so that's okay.
And I don't know about you, but there's only two things that are going to ruin the movie for me completely. If they beat the aliens again with a made up virus that they upload by some miracle, and just, I know it's not supposed to be taken seriously, but I was, especially as I got older, and I was like, wait a minute, how did the programming language? No, I'm an IT guy.
Yeah.
Bachelor's in IT. I can't think about that because then I won't like it. And then if I don't mind if they kill Jeff Goldblum off at near the end of the movie, or as like almost like a redemption type of thing, like they're doing it, but they better not pull a Godzilla and kill him. And all the scenes that we've seen in the trailer are like in the first half hour.
Yes.
Because that, to me, I do not want to see discount Thor the whole time by himself. I don't want to see made up Will Smith's son the whole time. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, that would be a bad move.
What's the guy's name that plays the president?
Bill Pullman.
Yes, Bill Pullman. Same thing. I have a bad feeling. I don't think Jeff Goldblum will die in the beginning, but I have a bad feeling that Bill Pullman's character will die very, very early in the film. Just a bad feeling, and I don't want that. I want both of those guys, who are my favorite characters from the first movie, to be at least 3/4 of the way through the film before one of them dies, if at all. I would rather them both live forever. I mean, I wish Jeff Goldblum's is a national treasure.
I agree.
He is movie royalty. He's right up there with me for Tom Hanks. Even if they both don't do as many movies as they used to, I still love him. But I'm excited. Definitely. I'm probably going to go see it sometime this weekend. I have to make a decision. My wife is not amped to see this kind of movie like I am. She's not. This isn't her genre, but I do want to see Finding Dory, and that is her genre and the stuff that she likes. So we might have to do a double, maybe a double movie date this weekend. Maybe even she will. Maybe I'll go see it by myself one week. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But I'm excited to see it. John, I know you're probably in the same predicament as far as who to go see it with as well.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised, actually. My wife is, she's actually interested in seeing it. She was a fan of the first one, but like you said, it's really not her genre, so I'm actually surprised she's even as enthusiastic as she is. But, yeah, we'll see. I think as long as it's funny, my wife is a huge fan of just good humor. I think that's why she likes Civil War as much as she did, because Civil War had so many great, funny moments. I mean, just... Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, one of my favorite lines of the whole film. All right, when Falcon and Bucky are running in the tunnel at the end in the airport battle, and they see Spider-Man coming, and he's like, "What is that?" And then like Falcon's like, "Everybody's got a gimmick now." Like, yes.
Falcon's character in general in that movie, like in the car when they were in the car together, and they were given like lovey-dovey looks. Yeah. Towards, Chris Evans' character and everything, and
he's like, "Can you move your seat up?"
Yeah,
no. Yes.
That aside, though, I agree with you. Give us a little bit of the feeling. As long as you match the feeling of the first, I think everyone involved will be happy. But I don't know about you. We're coming to an end of the first episode, and I'm really excited to see what is to come. We really don't know yet what the channel will end up being, 10 episodes from now, 20 episodes from now, if it makes it that far. We hope it does. But I'm excited to see, how we can morph this and really, if you're watching this video or if you subscribe to the channel, which we hope you do, or like this video and share it with your friends, I think it'd be really cool, especially the way we're doing it, which we're filming on live first and then posting it to YouTube later. And at some point, we're going to, if we ever get enough subscribers or anyone that's interested in hearing two guys who have no business being on YouTube talking about movies and other things, we want to actually hear, feedback, comments, and in the chat that we have on our live feed here. So I'm excited. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know, John, you probably feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, this channel is basically, it's just, we're just talking about things that we're passionate about. Ryan and I, we had a great privilege of working together for a number of years, and one of our favorite things to do was just go see movies together. We like to check out these different universes, and it's just always something we've had in common. So yeah, we're not trying to be huge superstars or anything. If this channel takes off, that's awesome. But we just like talking about things that we care about, and you know, we're not journalists that are being paid to write an article about a film and trying to break it down. And you know, we just want to have a good time and just kind of give a, you know, some maybe different perspectives on some of these topics. So hopefully you enjoy it, and I know I'm having fun so far. So
Absolutely. And, you know, I think for now, at least the format will stay similar, probably as far as bringing topics. Some of the beginning and end of the show might change around, you know, as we talk and kind of feel out what people want to see, what we want to talk about. Because at the end, you know, we never want to talk about something that neither one of us really care about just to get views or clicks or anything.
right.
And we'll probably end up doing this once a week. I don't think we've nailed down a specific day for now what we're going to do, but in the future, you know, if people like it and they want more specific shows, you know, Star Wars talk or gaming specific, you know, we're open to doing specific videos and specific episodes separate from this show, which is going to be our main show in the future. But I'm really excited. I appreciate you guys watching. And anything you want to add, John, before we sign off?
No, yeah, that's about it. We appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this, and hit like or subscribe or give us a comment if you loved it. If you didn't like it, that's cool. But yeah, hopefully we'll have many more of these to come, and we can see how this show develops into something that's, you know, just really our own. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the future, see what we can do with this, and just kind of share our passions and thoughts. So yeah.
Absolutely. And just, you know, like us, subscribe, comment. We want, you know, the more comments, the better, because we want to know what, you know, what you like, what you didn't like, so we can kind of improve, you know, because we're obviously very early stages now. But thanks for stopping by. And for now, we'll see you at the movies.